Good morning and welcome to Rising. We've got a very special show for you all today and another very special guest. As you can see, Katie Halper is joining me virtually. Katie, thank you so much for co-hosting today.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're so glad to have you with us. Not in studio, unfortunately, but where are you based? You're in New York, right?
I'm in the New York State area, yes.
Okay. Not specific whereabouts. That's
right.
Very civil libertarian of you.
Yeah, right. Just too risky. You know better than I do, Robbie, about the risks of revealing too much to the state.
Absolutely. Well, What's on deck today?
Well, we do have a great lineup today. Journalist Matt Taibbi will be here to discuss an enormous military spending bill that the House passed quietly last week. Plus, we'll dig into the state of the economy with a couple of esteemed economists. Looking forward to that. Then journalist Abby Martin will join us to talk about her confrontation with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken about the slain Palestinian-American journalist Shireen Abu Akleh. And Angie Speaks weighs in on AOC's cuffless arrest.
But first, CNN is reporting that a potential federal investigation into Hunter Biden's business dealings is in fact heating up. Prosecutors are nearing a critical juncture as they weigh possible charges and prosecutors confront Justice Department guidelines, very interesting, to avoid bringing politically sensitive cases in close proximity to an election. So that's according to people who were briefed on the matter. The DOJ says there's an unwritten rule that prosecutors avoid politically sensitive cases within 60 days of an election. Some members of the agency have debated whether the rule should apply in this instance, since Biden isn't actually on the ballot in the midterms. Prosecutors have turned their focus to tax violations and gun-related charges, but Republicans want more info on his foreign business dealings. Just yesterday, Republicans on the House Oversight Committee sent a letter to Biden's energy secretary demanding to know why the Biden administration sold oil from the reserves to a Chinese company linked to Hunter Biden's investment firm. The letter says, quote, "The decision to sell to Unipec raises questions about why the Biden administration is selling oil from the SPR to China, especially when the sale may enrich Hunter Biden." So, yeah, I don't know how you feel about this, but the fact that it's hinging on the guns and the gun and the tax issues, the gun issue I understand is that he went out and purchased a firearm, but he wasn't supposed to have one because of drug connections, arrests related to drugs. So, but that's not really, I don't know, that like none of that is the kind of salacious kind of political scandal, the influence peddling that people are really interested in because we're trying to figure out the extent to which it involves his father. So if that's really all it is, I don't know that that's of great public interest.
Right. I mean, I think that honestly, at this point, it would be a better look for both Hunter Biden and Joe Biden for them to actually go after Hunter, because I think the bigger scandal here is kind of the double standard, the two-tiered justice system. I think people don't really care about these things. I mean, I think we're pretty used to scandals of presidents' kids, thanks to Donald Trump. But I do think the most disturbing thing about all of the Hunter stuff is just seeing that, like with the substance abuse, I'm glad that Biden is supportive of his son's struggle with substance abuse and doesn't want to throw him in jail. I just wish he would have the same feelings towards people who aren't his son.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I brought this up yesterday as we discussed, what's happening to Brittany Griner, for instance. It's like, yes, she should not be in prison in Russia for, whatever substance she was carrying, but people in the U.S. are in prison for doing that.
Right.
And why is Biden obsessed with freeing her when he could? I mean, fine, be obsessed with freeing her, but you could literally free people like today who have done that same thing,
right,
who are in U.S. prisons. It makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah. Maybe it's like our lane. It's supposed to be America's lane to over-incarcerate people for substance abuse issues. Mm-hmm. And so he's feeling jealous, competitive with Putin about that.
What do you feel about this sort of don't prosecute people close to the election kind of informal rule? I have heard about this before. Seems wildly open to abuse and different interpretation. It's not a literal rule. It's just like a department policy, and they've reiterated not to do that. But it's weird because, well, it's Hunter Biden. It's not actually bringing charges against someone who is an elected person, and Biden is not technically on the ballot for the midterms anyway, and Hunter Biden isn't on the ballot at all. So I don't know. It seems kind of odd to, I guess, avoid charging someone if there's legitimate reason to charge them, which there may not be, but just because of that, I don't know.
Yeah, especially because it doesn't seem like they apply that standard with any consistency, which just
Right.
again I think creates the I was going to say the illusion, but I think creates the reality or contributes to the reality that there is that this is a political issue, or that the lack of pursuit of Hunter Biden has been a political issue.
And why didn't that apply to, not that either of us are like, oh, poor Hillary, woe is Hillary, but why didn't that apply to, the FBI?
Yeah, right.
I guess that's a different agency, but it had some effect on the election. Maybe, they want to blame the whole thing on that. I don't know about that,
right.
But why didn't she did not benefit from that rule, certainly.
Right, and you can't imagine them doing anything like that with Donald Trump.
Right. Oh, yeah, right. Can you imagine? No, we can't. We want to charge Donald Trump, but we're gonna wait until after the election. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't really imagine that.
Yeah.
No.
Again, and I'm hardly woes me for Donald Trump, but we're just speaking to the consistency or lack of consistency in these rules.
Right, which is a huge problem in the criminal justice system at all. How, some people charge with some things, some people not at all. Yeah.
I'm just hoping that Hunter gets to go back to his artwork. I don't want this scandal to get in the way of his artistic output.
So, certainly the artwork. Are you a fan of George Bush's artwork as well?
Oh yeah, big, yeah. I especially fond of his portrait of Putin, or as he called him, Pooty Poot Poot. I don't know if viewers are old enough to remember that, but that was his affectionate nickname for him.
All right, well, new text messages recovered this week by the Daily Mail could expose Hunter's dealings even further. In a December 2018 text to Hallie Biden, Hunter confided about feeling alone with the stress of his business dealings. The text says, quote, "I find myself very alone in dealing with the aftermath of the abduction and likely assassination of my business partner, the arrest and conviction of my client, the chief of intelligence of the People's Republic of China, the retaliation of the Chinese in the arrest, CIA operatives in China, my suspected involvement in brokering a deal with Putin directly for the largest sale of oil, gas, assets inside Russia to China, and Dad's running for president." So that seems like a lot of text about potentially illicit involvements or dealings that would make a more interesting investigation and prosecution. But I guess we're just not doing that right now.
Yeah, I mean, that almost sounds like someone hacked into his cell phone and wrote a text. Like, it's so self-incriminating.
Yeah.
It almost seems made up.
Right, because of all the references to the illicit and then references Dad's presidential ambition. Like, it gets it all in there, and it's. I mean, right. This is a very clumsy person who clearly benefited, right, from nepotism because of like the irresponsibility, the lack of competence, the drug addiction, everything. And I take your point earlier. We should be sympathetic to people who are very publicly going through addiction and bad behavior. And right, I don't want him locked up over drug abuse, just like right. I don't want anyone locked up over drug abuse. But if he was selling the Biden name, if he was being hired or contracted by foreign governments to sit on these boards or broker these deals specifically because they knew he had a line to his dad, that is wrong. And then we got to find out to what extent the big guy, right? The big guy is referenced in some of these messages. That's Joe Biden, knew about this, and if he went along with it. And again, maybe the answer is no. I don't think we've seen any evidence thus far that Joe Biden was anything other than just kind of being supportive of his son. But you don't know, and that does have to be investigated.
Right. Yeah, it definitely has to be looked into. I mean, I honestly, again, think that this is beneficial for the Bidens for it to be investigated, because I think the bigger scandal is the suggestion that Hunter Biden is not subjected to kind of the rule of law that other people are. Mm-hmm.
That's a good point.
But I do hope we can look at some more texts from Joe Biden to Hunter, because they're hilarious. They're so Biden. They have all these grammatical errors, all these all caps, all these ellipses. So
just
hopefully those will be turned into
text
evidence.
Speech. Well, we're pre-boomer, right? It's the greatest generation.
Yeah. Right.
All right. Well, Thank you, Katie. Next up, I'll tell you what's on my radar. Stay tuned.